Title: The Case of the Poisoned CEO. The CEO of a major tech company was found dead in his office, apparently poisoned. The police were baffled. There were no signs of forced entry, and the CEO's secretary had seen him alive and well just an hour earlier. Detective Sarah Miller was assigned to the case. She was a seasoned detective with a reputation for solving difficult crimes. Miller quickly determined that the CEO had been poisoned with a rare and deadly toxin. Miller interviewed the CEO's employees and associates, but she couldn't find any obvious suspects. The CEO was a well-liked and respected man, and he didn't seem to have any enemies. Miller was about to give up when she received a mysterious tip. The tipster claimed that the CEO had been murdered by a rival company, which was trying to steal his company's trade secrets. Miller followed up on the tip, and she soon discovered that the CEO had been negotiating a secret deal with another company. The deal would have given the other company access to the CEO's company's most valuable trade secrets. Miller also discovered that the CEO had been receiving threatening letters from the other company. The letters warned the CEO not to go through with the deal, or else he would suffer the consequences. Miller now had a motive, but she still needed to find the killer. She brought in the other company's CEO for questioning, but he denied any involvement in the murder. Miller was about to give up again when she received another mysterious tip. The tipster claimed that the killer had left evidence of the crime in the CEO's office. Miller returned to the CEO's office and searched it carefully. She found a tiny piece of paper hidden in the CEO's wastebasket. The paper had a fingerprint on it. Miller ran the fingerprint through the database, and it matched the fingerprint of one of the other company's employees. Miller arrested the employee, and he confessed to the murder. The employee admitted that he had been hired by the other company's CEO to kill the CEO and steal his trade secrets. The employee said that he had poisoned the CEO's coffee with the rare and deadly toxin. The other company's CEO was also arrested and charged with murder. Both men were convicted and sentenced to life in prison. The suspense in the story comes from the fact that the detective is trying to solve a difficult crime with no obvious suspects. She has to follow a series of leads and clues to eventually catch the killer. The reader is kept guessing about who the killer is and how the murder was committed. The story also raises questions about the ethics of business and the lengths to which some people are willing to go to get ahead. Detective Miller was relieved that she had solved the case, but she couldn't help but feel uneasy. She knew that the other company's CEO was a ruthless man, and she was worried that he would retaliate against her. Miller's fears were realized a few weeks later. She was walking home from work one night when she was attacked by a group of men. The men beat her severely and left her for dead. Miller was hospitalized for several weeks, but she eventually recovered. She returned to work, but she was more cautious than ever. She knew that the other company's CEO was still out there, and she was determined to bring him to justice. Miller continued to investigate the other company, and she soon discovered that it was involved in a number of illegal activities, including bribery, extortion, and money laundering. She also discovered that the company's CEO had ties to organized crime. Miller gathered enough evidence to arrest the other company's CEO and his associates. They were all charged with a variety of crimes, including racketeering, bribery, and money laundering. The other company's CEO was convicted on all charges and sentenced to life in prison. His associates were also convicted and sentenced to long prison terms. Miller was hailed as a hero for her work on the case. She had taken down a dangerous criminal organization and brought justice to the CEO's family. Miller continued to work as a detective for many years. She solved many more cases and brought many criminals to justice. She was known for her dedication to her job and her commitment to justice. Miller eventually retired from the police force, but she continued to work as a consultant on high-profile crimes. She was also a popular speaker at law enforcement conferences and training seminars. Miller's story is an inspiration to all who are fighting for justice. She showed that even the most powerful criminals can be brought to justice if there are people who are willing to stand up to them. The suspense in the story is revealed when Detective Miller is attacked by a group of men after she solves the case of the poisoned CEO. The reader is left wondering who is behind the attack and why they are targeting Miller. The suspense is further heightened when Miller discovers that the other company, which the CEO was negotiating a deal with, is involved in a number of illegal activities and has ties to organized crime. The reader is left wondering if the attack on Miller was orchestrated by the other company's CEO in retaliation for her bringing him to justice. The suspense is finally resolved when Miller gathers enough evidence to arrest the other company's CEO and his associates. The CEO is convicted on all charges and sentenced to life in prison. This suggests that the CEO was indeed behind the attack on Miller. The story ends with Miller continuing to work as a